G'day and welcome back to RC Model Reviews for another not-so-weekly news from the studio. And what have I got coming up this week? Well, first of all, I'm old and I forget, so I've written it all down. One thing, oh yes, this is really good. Now you remember, where is it? I've got one here somewhere, here's one. The ZMR 250. Now this is, a quad that, as I've pointed out on a couple of occasions, I'm not that impressed with the physical design, the arms. This is the one I've been flying for quite some time. Went to fly it on the weekend and another two of the arms have gone soft, so the vibration from those flopping around motors was so bad that I simply couldn't fly it because it upset the nose board to the extent that as soon as I entered forward flight and hit the resonant peak of these motors and props, it just pitched up like this and it was almost uncontrollable because of and if you looked at the motors, they're shaking around like you wouldn't believe. So twist the arms, yeah, they're soft. Delamination inside the arms. So what do you do? And I've said on numerous occasions that, hey, someone should make some better arms for this thing because the stock arms are crap for reasons I've previously described. And guess what? Somebody is doing that. Look, I got this package today. Look at these arms. Look at those. They're still 3mm carbon, but they don't have all the stupid weak areas around the motor, and also come with these, which are reinforcement pads that go around the motor area. So these will go across here and provide extra reinforcement under the motor, where these arms invariably break. Oh, brilliant. Now this comes from the UK. I'll do a full review on this. I'll do a rebuild of my ZMR with these and we'll compare it. I think at the moment, these ones are only for 5-inch props, but that's okay because I find the ZMR works really nicely with 5-inch props. I haven't had a need to go to 6-inch. It's too floaty. It's such a light frame. If you put 6-inch props on this thing, it gets all floaty. And for proximity, where you want to be able to go under trees and branches and things, it's too floaty for that with the 6-inch props. So as you can see, I've been using 5s. 5.4 gem fans work brilliantly for me. And this kit comes with other stuff as well. He sent me screws, much longer screws than they normally give you with the ZMR, because these pillars, the screws rip out. They just rip out. And the slightest crash and strips the threads in the pillars because the screws, all the ZMR frames I've had from eBay, from everywhere else, have had short screws. They're only, I don't know, maybe 6mm long, so they don't go in far enough. The threads just strip out. So what he's provided here is some much longer screws, and the benefit of these longer screws is immediately apparent when you look at my MXP230, which had a hard weekend. Not as hard as the weekend before, but look at the standoffs on this. See the angle on those standoffs? See how they have been kind of customized by the force of gravity and impact? Well, this is nothing compared to the previous week when I landed this inverted at full power, 1700 watts of power straight down. And all it did was bend these standoffs. Didn't pull the screws out because the screws are long enough to have enough meat engaged in with the threads that the standoffs bend. And last weekend, after I did the really bad crash, I simply hammered the standoffs straight, re-tapped them or run a tap through the hole, put it back together and flew it again and then did the same thing. So, but incredible, haven't had to put any new parts into this MXP230 frame, even though it was so hammered you wouldn't believe it. Brilliant with my ZMR, of course. It's now, in fact, the best arm on this ZMR is the fiberglass one. It's the only one that isn't starting to get really weak. It's actually stiffer on the fiberglass arm than on the carbon arms now because the fiberglass one hasn't delaminated yet. So I'm picking that these really sturdy looking arms will be brilliant. Now the guy that makes these is actually going into version 2 now before he's even shipped these. He decided the material, although the design was good, the material itself was still cheapish Chinese carbon, not up to scratch. So he's going to make it from better material. So these will be killer. Yeah, a must-have upgrade, a tough kit for your ZMR 250. Before I even review them, I know that just looking at it, it's got to be better than the stock setup. Now also speaking of ZMR 250, someone sent me this. It's the power distribution board that's being done. Who's this one by? This is by, take my glasses off because I'm old. It is by, hold it up the right way, Overcraft power distribution board. It's got an onboard LC filter and all the pads for you to solder your ESCs and things, LEDs all around. So I'll give that a try and see how that goes as well, because okay, the ZMR is a very cheap frame and in stock form I don't like it much, but with all these bling bling add-ons it might turn into something worthwhile. What we'll have to do, of course, is just keep track of the price as you add a PDB and you add the tough kit and you add this and the other. Soon it starts to look like, get pretty much along the same price as a blackout perhaps, in which case why don't you just buy a blackout. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, what the prices work out at, because another project that's been by popular demand, everyone's been emailing me saying, can you do this, can you do this? So I'm going to do it, is your first mini quad build video. People are confused. Where do I get this? Which is the best of that? What do I do? So I'm going to basically do a full build video like I did with the AXN Clouds floater. I'm going to tell you where to get all the bits. There'll be links to all the suppliers for the bits. I'll have to check with suppliers first and make sure they've got enough stock, because usually when I do this, everyone runs out. So I'll check first, make sure they have enough stock levels to meet the demand. So you'll be able to go to this video, go into the description, click on the links, buy the bits and pieces and build it along with me on the video. So you should end up with a really good, tough, well-performing mini quad that will, get you into this hobby, because so many people are keen to get into it, but they're bamboozled by the choices. And they're also, there are some really rough deals out there from some of these eBay vendors that pile stuff together, completely inappropriate motors and props and frames and things. So we'll steer you through all the crap and tell you what's good. And I might give you a couple of price ranges. I might do a low-end build and a high-end build, because low-end build pretty much has to be the ZMR, because that's the only really cheap low-end frame out there that I've seen that's, going to be any good. There are knockoffs of the QAV250, but I'm not a great fan of knockoffs. I've got to be honest. I think the people that invest the time and effort in making a product that's as good as the QAV or the Blackout or whatever, they don't deserve to be ripped off. So the ZMR250 is perhaps inspired by the Blackout, but it's not a knockoff, so we'll go with that one, and I'll tell you where to get a little bit. So anyway, that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Right, next product, HoryzonHD. This is an FPV video camera. We'll also do live video, of course. I've reviewed the previous versions of this, and as a camera, they work pretty well. I mean, they give a good picture, 1080p, and but I've always thought, well, they're a solution looking for a problem, because you can get a little Mobius. Will give you every bit as good video quality as this. You can get a SJ5000, well, 4000 will give you good video quality, because these are not totally cheap. So why would you buy one of these, especially when you consider it has, now it's been broken up, you've got the LCDs a separate item, you've got the actual recording units a separate item, and the camera's a separate item on a lead. It comes on with a choice of lead lengths. So why would you use this? Well, I'll tell you when I do the review. I'll tell you why this may be an option for you. It's certainly probably not going to replace the Mobius in most people's setups, but it is if you've got specific demand, especially if you're into doing video perhaps from a commercial perspective and taking still photos from the air. This could actually be a pretty good product, but we'll check it and we'll find out. Now, I know the product that everyone has been waiting for. Where's your review on this? Well, it's finally arrived from FPV Model. It's the Skyzone V02 3D goggles. Now, I love my other Skyzones, the version 1s. I use them virtually every second day, and they're brilliant. I've had no problems with them. They just work really well. They're such a leap ahead of some of the earlier video glasses that were on the market that, you'd have to pry them out of my cold, dead hands. Perhaps maybe not, because perhaps this will become my favorite video goggles. I don't know. Now, BMSWeb, I'll put a link to their channel in the description of this one. They've already done a couple of reviews on this. They've done a review of the operation of it, and they did some flying around. Now, I'm going to review, of course, a little bit more technical, perhaps my review, give you some more inside information. And also, I think my review is going to be rather unique. You can't say rather, unique as an absolute. So my review is going to be unique, because I'm going to show you what it looks like in 3D through this system. Fortunately, YouTube supports 3D. You didn't know that? It does. You can use the little colored glasses, or you can cross your eyes, but I'm going to try and get true 3D footage from this, put up on YouTube, so you can see what the depth perception is like, as I will, because I haven't used them yet. They only arrived this morning. I've got to get to now and sort of set them up on a quad and fly them around and see what it looks like, and I'm hoping I'll be as impressed as Paul and Thomas were on BMSWeb. Now, what else have we got here? I don't have to go through all this stuff. See, well, of course, I mentioned the Mini Mamba 2 frame's coming along nicely. I should have that going shortly. I'll be putting that alongside the Blackout 330 frame, because that's nearly finished as well. And so it looks like Mel Bernard and myself will be racing to be the first out of the two of us to get our Blackout 330 in operation. Should be interesting. Some other stuff I'm working on. As you know, I'm working on my sense and avoid system, and I've decided to include ADS-B in. I can see lots of glazed eyes and puzzled faces. What's ADS-B in? Well, ADS-B is a new system. It's a part of the setup that the FAA has instigated as part of their, I forget what it's called, is it the Next or the Next Gen or something, I don't know. But it is a system where aircraft broadcast their position and their heading wirelessly to anything that wants to listen. So I figure with the sense and avoid system, I already have two sense elements, one passive, one active. By adding ADS-B, I'm adding a third sense element, so it just all goes to improve the performance, improve the reliability, and improve the resolution of the system. So, and because my sense and avoid system has a couple of software-defined receivers, it's a piece of cake to include ADS-B reception and decoding, because I've also got some spare processor power left over. So it's going to make it even more versatile, even more valuable, even more practical and useful, if only I can test it. Yeah, that's the big problem. Never mind. What else have I got? With all these mini quads, I've put a number of different video transmitters in them. You see this one's got a huge video transmitter. Turn that prop. You can see the size of the video transmitter in this. This is a 250 milliwatt. And some of them that I've built have got tiny video transmitters like this one. That's the little 7 gram. Probably can't even see it in there. Little 7 gram video transmitter, 200 milliwatt. So which is best? What's going to work best? Well, I've got the full range from the 200 through to the 600 milliwatt. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to just fly and record the results, let you see how they handle dropouts and things. And I'll just let you know the pros and cons, because FPV is becoming a really big thing. It's nice to have that information in your back pocket. Also coming up soon, here in New Zealand, we have a lot of people flying mini quads, multi-rotors of all sorts now, and RC planes, all sorts of RC models. And we have decided, when I say we, a large group of people have decided to set up an RC Pilots Association. Well, why a Pilots Association? Well, because unless you fly control line free flight and oily old trainers, there's no one really to represent you as a unified body in this country when talking to government agencies and other groups. So it was decided that we set up a legal entity, an incorporated society called the RC Pilots Association of New Zealand, and that will then basically represent all those people out there who don't want to be part of the old school cocoa drinking crowd. They would rather be part of the progressive crowd that uses new technology, and a lot of them will fly multi-rotors, whether you're commercial or recreational, it doesn't matter. We want a unified voice for all the people who fly these things, so that we don't have to put up with the politics that goes on elsewhere. Now, I'm not going to be in the executive of this organisation for very obvious reasons. It would be completely counterproductive to have me anywhere in the executive. So I'm simply organising the initial meeting, which will probably be sometime next month, and we'll get all the people together, we'll sign the papers, form the incorporated society, elect officers, and get this ball rolling so that we can go and be represented in the halls of power, so that they don't pass crappy rules which might outlaw stuff like mini quad flying. Who knows? We need to be heard. We need to be heard with a loud, unified voice. And I'm hoping perhaps that maybe this will become an international movement, RC Pilots Association of whatever your country is, and we can form a unified global network of RC pilot associations with a view to making sure that the cutting edge technologies or model types that we're flying now are not unfairly disadvantaged by the actions of a few idiots and their drones who think it's cool to do things that are really, really stupid. So we need to be the other side to that coin, preaching that we're safe and we know what we're doing and we're going to behave sensibly. Anyway, there'll be more on that coming up. I won't clutter this channel up with it, probably put it on my XJet channel, but I thought I'd give everyone a heads up. So if you're in New Zealand and you're thinking this could be a good idea, then watch my XJet channel, because I'll be doing a video soon telling you where we get together and what we're going to do. And if you want to join in, which I really recommend you do, then you can do that and everyone will be the better for it. So what else is left on my weekly news? Nothing. I think that's all I've got for this week. Now, of course, what I've got to do now is clear this bench. Look at it. I built several mini quads for people last week and I fixed a couple, and so, yep, and I did some reviews, and so I have to clear all this clutter off, get started with a clean slate for the new week, because it's going to be a damn busy week with all this work to do. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Comments in the usual place, all that sort of thing. Now it's time for me to get back to the bench.